It's ready now. Okay, hey Philip, come on, you can sit right here. Do you mind, Mr. Brown? Right here.
How you doing, sir?
Thank you. That's Philip. That's Uncle Philip. We want to thank everybody for coming out. This is CJ, right here.
How y'all doing, everybody?
He says, let's talk with CJ.
And Reverend Molly is the producer.
Yeah, I don't know. But the family, the Jackson family, they own the IHOP here and the one on 14th Street. And they have been a very good neighbor to our community, providing jobs and opportunity for our residents. So we thank CJ and his family.
And Reverend Molly was a part of that. He don't want to. He leaves that part out. He leaves how important he was a part of that when we first opened up. And he helped us also. He don't like to tell the people that part.
I just, you know, do my part, right? And I thank you for the opportunity. Everybody that's here, let's introduce everybody that we have now. I'm going to introduce the Northeast Performing Arts Group.
All right.
AJ, his brother Carrington, and Carrington's out of town. But they came up under one of the best educators and organizers and community activists, Rita Jackson. And she was a dear friend, and we miss her a whole lot. So we thank them for continuing the work with the children. They doing a great job. And everybody, if you know anyone that wants to find a place to support an organization, show support to Northeast Performing Arts Group.
Where they located at?
3431 Benham Road, Northeast.
3431 Benham Road.
Yeah, 31 Benham Road, Northeast. On the
right
northeast
next to the
side.
Chateau.
Right to the Chateau.
Everybody with the Chateau. Now I know where you at.
And now, you know, and my baby right here, she's saying to me, I know a lot of people, it's like the Chateau when Mr. Coleman opened up the Chateau. You know, he was a Bellevue resident from Southwest. And he was a government employee, and he made the decision to open up that Chateau on Benham Road. And so I thank God for him. He passed away. And then his son took it over, and then then Mr. Coleman died, and they sold the building. And so, but they're still there. It's called the Chateau Remix now, right?
Chateau Remix.
The Chateau Remix. So we're doing introductions. Right here, we have our guests for this afternoon. When CJ and I were talking, was it last year? I watched him grow up too. And as a police officer,
Train the police.
I trained him. He was a different kind of police officer. We don't have many like that. That's a different kind of police officer. And when he was a police officer, it wasn't intimidation, but it was communications. He communicated with the young people. Communicated with the residents. And I don't know how many arrests he made. I don't think he made any arrests. Did you make any arrests?
Well, I had to. So.
He had to do something. But that's a different kind of police, you know. He stopped a lot of stuff from happening.
And his daughter, and your daughter.
And my daughter.
I ended up training his daughter.
She trained him.
I trained his daughter.
When she came out of Blue, she went to she came to the academy. And then she graduated and came to Ward. She wanted to come to the 7th District. I don't know why she wanted to come to 7th District, but she wanted to come to 7th District.
Yeah.
And made a difference.
Yes.
When CJ had her as a rookie, on her first, they put y'all in Bird Farm. Weren't y'all in Bird Farm? And she used to tell me of all the people that I knew, and she was. Watch out, Stu. She was telling me about the people that she was talking to. That I watched them babies, all of them grew up. Berry Farm, Parkchester, Shipley Terrace, Condon Terrace, Congress Park, Trenton Place, all them on the avenue. But she did a good job as a police officer.
Yeah, she got promoted.
She's a sergeant. And she was in the lieutenant thing. She took the test for the lieutenant. Also, we have Ken and Francine here. Ken and I and Francine before years ago in doing the work in the community. And Ken is an executive, he's an administrator. But he rides a motorcycle.
No, that's my brother.
That's your brother?
That's my brother.
Oh, that's your brother. Okay, I know it was in there.
Exactly.
You didn't know, y'all remember that. See, I told you that a long time. You know that online, and I remember it was your brother that had the motorcycle.
Yeah.
But working with them as administrators, very, very professional. And doing the work of the community over the years. And Ken and Francine, they're the parents of CHARNICE Milton. CHARNICE, I hate to say was, because I think that she still is. Because the work continues in her name and in her spirit. CHARNICE was in, I remember like it was yesterday. It was on Naylor Road. Right there by Stanton Elementary School. And she was coming from an assignment. She's a reporter. Was coming home from a report. On the bus, mind her business, transferring, and then them youngins on the mopeds and them ATVs driving around, and they started shooting. And this one guy gonna get in front of CHARNICE and use her as a shield, because it was after him, and shot and killed her. This is her mother and father. You know, we still haven't found the one yet, but we're gonna find him. We're gonna find him. I told that to Miss Butler over there. Remember Pam Butler? Graduated from Blue. She became missing, and they searched for 9 years. And we found the person. We're gonna get him. We're gonna get him. We're gonna get him, Francine. Ken, We're gonna touch and agree. So Jamon is doing the introductions.
All right.
Yeah, I'm doing them. No, you doing them. No. So we're just waiting on Jamon. This young lady right here to my left is Queen Alfie. I remember when she was a little girl. Her father and I,
Not that old. Come on,
her father and I grew up together. Anacostia, graduates. I've been to Johnson Memorial a couple times, you know. But Queen, her daughter was a victim of domestic violence. Y'all probably heard of her situation. The boyfriend, he couldn't handle his responsibilities and took her daughter's life. And that's her grandbaby. Where'd she go? Your grandbaby? She gone? She driving? Okay. We have, before we go, we got Sandra SEEGARS, Sandra the SS of Washington, D.C. We don't say no longer Southeast. No, that's Southeast. It's Sandra SEEGARS SS, Washington, D.C. She's a legend in her own time, and she keeps it real. Across the Washington, D.C. community, people know about Sandra SEEGARS and watched her as she has done some tremendous work in our community. Thank God for you. You know, we do thank God for you. She's a Blue graduate too. Okay. That's a night. Yeah. And then y'all know Beverly. Beverly. She made a decision. She didn't have to, but she was. The Lord led her. See, that's the difference between the work that a lot of people do. They don't have the Lord leading them. The Lord led her to do the work that she's doing with the young people in the community. And she because of her coming up in Southeast and knowing the stuff that she's had to endure in her family, she said there's going to be a difference. We're going to make a difference. And she let the Lord lead her to found MAMASAFE Haven. Started in Malcolm X. No, he even started before Malcolm X. Yeah. So anyway, we just get a little introduction, and they're gonna finish it all. They're gonna do it, cause she's doing a great job, and I watched her grow up. Now I never was grow up, but I watched her grow in ministry, and I thank God for her. Our announcer, Katie Shepard, 30-year government employee, retired from the Department of Human Services. And now she's doing community, she's always done community work. And even as a government employee, she did go, she used to get in trouble because she was trying to help the community, but some of them bureaucrats, they didn't understand what Katie was doing. And we had to help her. We had her back. They're right. We got her back. We said, no, we're not going. She's from the community, you know. So anyway, we about ready to get started. We have the sign. So we have.
The sign in the back.
We're gonna start with the music. You ready, AJ? We ready. So he got his music ready. Oh, there's Philip. There's Uncle Philip. Philip PANNELL. Okay, you know that Philip is, he just got an award he got the proclamation from the mayor last week. The mayor designated Saturday, June the 1st, Philip PANNELL Day in DC.
All right.
That's Philip. Everybody doesn't get that designation. For him to get the mayor's proclamation. God bless you. And he kept talking about he was going to retire. Yeah, he keeps telling me over the years, he's going to retire, I'm going to retire, but he can't quit. Anybody else? So, Kimon, we ready? We ready. AJ, you ready? Yes. So we got a special performance before we start. And AJ,
yes,
he's going to introduce the group and tell us.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is AJ. Some know me as Arrington. Well, that's my first name, Arrington, but my nickname is AJ. I'm one of the head choreographers at Northeast Performing Arts. And our purpose in our service is to service the youth in Ward 7 and try to provide a safe haven for all the kids, you know, so they won't be coming out of statistic in the DMV. We focus a lot on the topics that I'm going to be talking about today, which anti-bullying and anti-violence. We provide services for every child in DC. You don't have to live in a certain ward to come to our organization. We do not turn away kids, so whenever kids need to come into the, you know, to have a safe place so they can dance and express themselves, we provide that service. We also just got finished doing a showcase called Don't Throw Your Life Away, which focused on the topics of bullying and living life drug-free and things of that nature. We provide dance classes over there on 3431 Benton Road Northeast, right by the Chateau Remix. And our mission is just to service the kids the best way that we can and just make sure they're focused on everything they need to be focusing on and just keep it a positive aspect when they like, so when they grow up they can fulfill my position as head choreographer or anything they look forward into doing. So now I'm going to present the Northeast Performing Arts Group, and we're going to be doing a mini selection from our gospel hip-hop mix. I thought it was important to do our gospel hip-hop mix because a lot of kids are not exposed to gospel music. They're so introduced to other music that doesn't influence them in the correct mindset, in the correct way. So just providing with this gospel hip-hop mix is just an outlet for them to know that it doesn't matter what you do, just listen to the music, and you know, God works in mysterious ways, and He works in hip hop music and providing the artists to create to their beats. So yeah, here comes Northeast Performing Arts, and thank you so much, Brad, for inviting Northeast Performing Arts, and thank you, Let's Talk with CJ, for inviting us as well. We're going to be performing like right here. So if you guys would like to get up and just support the kids as they go out.
Stay on the mic. Stay on the mic. Stay on the mic.
Okay, my bad. So we are going to have a mini performance right here for you guys. So we would like for everybody to stand up so you guys can watch the kids as they perform and just provide your love and support for them. Yeah.
Wow. That's great. Thank you very much. Wow. Thank you, children. Thank you, kids. Right.
You did great.
Good job. Go ahead. Good time.
for to help the community.
Welcome to Let's Talk with CJ. After cruising around the streets for more than 30 years as a Metropolitan Police officer, and then later becoming a business owner in one of our communities, he served as a police officer. He didn't want to do something more. So he decided to create Let's Talk with CJ, which is an opportunity for people to have a place where information and ideas can be expressed amongst family, friends, and those with differing opinions. Today's guests include Beverly Smith Brown, founder and executive director, MAMASAFE Haven. SANDRA SEEGARS, community activist and former chair of ANCAE. Also, Dr. Queen, mother of SMILEY Nana GASTON, founder and executive director of DVWMT. Also, Ken McCLENTON, father of CHARNICE MILTON, founder of the Open Heart Case. Also, Phil Pannell, executive director, Anacostia Coordinating Council. Special guest, the Northeast Performing Arts Group, which just saw them perform. And now, and let me be clear, Ken McCLENTON, father of CHARNICE MILTON, the founder, Open Heart Closed Case. They're the parents of our dearest CHARNICE MILTON. Okay, now, let's talk with CJ.
Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? All right. She announced all my guests. Along with me, I have a smart man, Stu.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
All right. So I'm gonna start off by saying, ask some questions, and then she knows she announced everybody's on the show. So we're gonna have one question. We can just go around the room and everybody can answer. So I guess for everybody, the first question is how y'all got started. What led you to do what you want to do? Who's gonna go first? So whoever wants to go first is fine with me. Just let me know.
So I got started. First, I want to just thank you for having me here on the show, and definitely want to give honor to God for just giving me the ability to breathe and to be before you all, and truly grateful. I started, really with my mom. My mom was someone who gave to the community as a child. I'm number 8 of 9 children. I grew up in Southeast DC. During the 1980s, crack cocaine hit our community hard, and it really affected my family. My mom was smoking drugs at one end, and my sister and I was selling at the other end to keep some of the money in the house. So it was something that, even though my mom had a drug addiction, she was someone who always showed us how to love. She always showed us that we always had enough, even though it was a little bit. We didn't know we had a little bit, because she was known for those one-pot meals. And and she fed everyone. So I would wake up and I had somebody's child at the foot of my bed, and sometimes pallets on the floor. I would walk over people, and people, my mom, I have to share cereal, and I wanted 2 bowls, but now I only get 1 bowl. But I realized that all we had to do was go out back and pick some apples off the tree, and we did that. And that's kind of where it started. I got to give honor to my mom, Mary G. Smith. I love her so much. She's alive in me. Everybody say I look like her, and I just want to be just like my mom. She's so much more than what the drugs tried to do. That crack cocaine did not kill my mom in '94. She's alive today. So that's how it got started.
Queen or Sandy? Which one you with? Okay, Sandy.
Good afternoon.
I'm Sandy.
I'm already Sandra SEEGARS or SS. Well, the bullying, I'm here today on bullying. This is a new endeavor for me since some young guys, young teenagers tried to, vandalize my house or break into my house, but really they meant it for the little boy next door. And that's how I got involved in this. And beforehand, I was in the same business, she's in domestic violence.
I'm the founder of Domestic Violence Where It's Been Safe organization. I started in 2008, having a conversation with women, men, teens, boys and girls, victims and or abuser, providing them the education to help them break the cycle.
Thank you very much. Still, what you say? Go ahead, next.
So basically, right, What inspired you to do the work that you guys do? Or you ladies do, let me rephrase that. What inspires you to do the work that you do?
Well, I think I just told my inspiration, but I'm a survivor of domestic violence. It started at teenage. It started as a teenager. I'm a survivor of domestic violence, so that's really how I got started. And you know, my inspiration, like I said, was from my mom to just never give up. But as a survivor and going through domestic violence and seeing how comfortable people were in our community with it, I had a plate in my jaw. I was pushed out of a 2-story window. And I mean, just been kidnapped, so many different things I've been through as it relates to domestic violence, and it was, you know, felt normal, because when we spoke about it, it was normal. So, you know, once I got the courage and got healed from it, you know, it was definitely, you know, a transition, but that's really how I wanted to go into it.
Let me rephrase that question, right? Because maybe I didn't make that question clear. Well, tell me about a success and a failure. Same to the other two ladies. Yeah.
Okay, in the bullying, I'm inspired to do this because right now people don't see bullying as serious. It's not a serious thing, maybe because it's minors. For some reason, when children do things, they think it's cute, even though it can be dangerous. When women get beat up, they think it's cute because women don't matter. So the bullying, when these boys looked at my camera, put on masks, came into my yard, and broke my door. Stupid as they were, they thought it was the house next door. So I think attention needs to be brought to this more than it is now. So I do believe that with somebody pushing it, something can be done with these children who are just out of control.
Hold on. No. See, that's why I rephrased the question, right? You still didn't do it. You told me why. I love why. I understand why. I need you to back up and tell me a success. What's one of the greatest successes that you did, and what's one of your failures? Something that happened that didn't go like it should have went, and then we're gonna come back and we'll go back to SANDRA SEEGARS again. Come on, talk to me.
Okay, so a success and a failure, I'll say, you know, when as it relates to domestic violence, I can even talk about when my son's father, and how that was something where it was, I thought I was running from something from home and had no clue what I was running into. So I thought that was a success, but it turned out to be a failure.
Okay.
Okay. My success is going to be beating up Stewart. My failure is going to be not going to his funeral. So, like I was saying earlier, I just see domestic violence. Anywho, I just started with this bullying. So right now, this case is moving forward. So the success would be I am getting the Attorney General's office to investigate this. They're planning a mediation, but the parents start ducking. Now want an arrest warrant. So that would be my success. I just started this year when they try to break into my house or whatever it is they was doing.
A failure and a success. A failure is that I lost my daughter in 2016 to the same thing that I'm talking about and have been talking about since 2008. That's a huge failure. A success is that I'm still having a conversation. Even though she died, you know, she was shot in the head by the same conversation, I'm still having the same conversation. I think, you know, that could be considered that.
Come on, guys.
My question is, how do you think the government can get involved to make this more successful, each one of your organizations? And are you getting the support from the community that you think you should be getting from the community?
Go ahead. Stewart did that. Anyway, with this bullying, I believe the government has been trying to bring attention to it. They have posters different places. But I think they do need to go into the schools and talk to the students. They need to talk to the parents and let the parents know this is not kosher. They need to talk to the churches and anybody else that come in contact with the children. And as far as the government, I do believe they need to put more money into this. It's really violence. Bullying is assault, whether they put their hands on the person or not. Whereas teasing is one thing. I might do a hat like that, that's teasing. If I do a hat like that, that's not teasing. So you need to know when to draw the line. So children need to be taught when to draw the line in the streets and at home, when to draw the line. And I think the government should put more money into advertising or commercials or something for the children to know what's wrong.
So, do you think that the school or the police department should have some type of training on that? So when you go to school every day, should they be lecturing about this? Or, you know, now we have police officers in the school. Should they be want to get involved in doing some type of lecture on this bullying thing?
Yes, usually, well, maybe not now, but when I was in school, we would have a free period, and maybe at lunchtime, 10 minutes during lunchtime, the police could come in. I don't think the teachers should really be responsible for doing this, but the police who know this is a crime, they should be speaking to the children and letting them know what can happen. But once they start school at age 5, they kind of realize when they're doing wrong or when they're doing right. So I think the police in the school could do that during the lunch period. The teachers in the classroom could make sure that the students are doing their classwork, not messing with each other or hitting each other. And of course the parents should teach them at home. But then a lot of these homes in this ward, the parents just as bad as some of the students, so it's kind of hard. But yes, the police could take the first step in the schools.
Well, I am definitely going to piggyback off of what Ms. Sandra Seegars just said. When it comes down to the government, I think that they have more of a handle as it relates to the school system, DCPS. I remember when I was growing up, we had the side-by-side band, Mr. McGruff with the little crime dog and the little Mr. Yuck stickers. If they can get some kind of advertising and make it mandatory in the schools, that these classes and different, you know, home economics, you know, we had home ec in school. I remember having that as a class. I went to Cadoza, we had sex education, you know, even though I was a teen mom, I had to take, it was a parenting class in Cadoza. There was a daycare center in the basement with education for us. I think if they put, you know, more emphasis on prevention, and make it cool again, you know, and really highlight those youth who are making great choices, because in my opinion there are more youth who are doing great than negative. But I think because negativity outweighs, I think us people who are positive really need to be bolder. So if the government can get behind that, just like she said, as it relates to funding nonprofits who are doing the work, right? There's a lot of things are not being publicized. There are people who are feeding people that is not posting and putting it on social media. So I think that the government need to really get their self out on the ground so they can see who's really doing it and not look at it from a standpoint of who can write up a good grant, but see what the heart of the people and see who is actually doing the work. But I think that we can tie those things, and even what you said with the media is really important. So if the community as a whole could put a highlight on the positive youth, I think that we can win it.
So I love the ideas that you've laid out. I love the pinpointing on the successes and failures, and I want to drill down on this thought that's being kind of woven out. This thought about parents not having the tools, right? We have these parents who don't have the tools, and how do we get those tools? And I understand the government having a role in there. So let's drill down into it. Let's talk about, like, man, one or two things. And I think that if you each talk about one or two things that you really believe the government can pump into the community, or pump into some family service piece, or pump into some nonprofit organization, what would be your top one or two things that the government could do? And we'll start right here with Beverly.
So, and I know your organization is about domestic violence and things like that. And I remember being the police. So I remember being the police that we had a domestic violence law on the books. So if anyone, his relatives, lovers, any type of partner struck anyone in any type of way or threatened, they automatically had to be arrested. So do you think, since that's been happening, do you think domestic violence has calmed down? I know that's one of the ways the government has stepped in and tried to help that way also.
I think it's like when he, the question he asked was chopping it down at the dinner table and finding out what is going on in the household. What are they, what are they teaching the children? What are they talking about with their children? The background of a parent plays a role too. Where did that parent come from? What type of dinner table did they have? Because you're going to trend almost the same dinner table when you get to your house, okay? So I think that things have not calmed down when it comes to domestic violence. The other thing about my story is that I'm an abuser. See, so nobody don't want to talk to me. You don't want my advice.
Right.
You need my advice, my input to help break the cycle when it comes to domestic violence. You see what I mean? Yeah, I was locked up and they put me in jail, and so what? That didn't matter. Because I was only still plotting how I'm going to get to my victim. That's it. So I think it's about us really chiming into victim side, abuser side, because women are becoming abusers every day. Young girls every day abusing people.
Now, I have a question. So, now, this is what I was told when I was with the police, that you get locked up if you're an abuser, and then they try to get you some type of treatment. Did that happen?
No. No. They didn't even make me aware that it was domestic violence. No, they charged me with an assault. So that's just like a fight.
Right.
That's not like that's not affecting me trying to kill my baby father, which they didn't tell me that it's assault with a deadly weapon. That's just like I was in a fight, as opposed to, no, this is domestic violence.
Right.
You see what I mean? So I went, and did my own research to find out why I was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
I have a question. So, when you were younger, were you also involved with bullying also? Were you a bullier? Because sometimes, like she said, bullying leads to that same person becoming an abuser as they get older. So you might be bullying somebody in your school, but then you might, become an abuser towards your mate because you're used to bullying people.
Yes, I was a full-blown abuser. Bully. Yes, I learned all the techniques and the ways to do it, and eventually I got tired of getting locked up, so I had to learn how to do it and not get arrested. That's why we shouldn't tell victims, show me your marks. Because they may not be any marks. But that person, that man, that young girl, that young boy, that mom, that dad could still be getting abused in their household. But the first thing we want to point to is where the marks are. I can tell you right now, it's probably no marks in a lot of.
Right. And so, when you were bullied, so you bullied other young ladies that was in school with you? Who else? Once you realized you found that person was weak, you just bullied them?
Not necessarily weak. I bully it. I'll go down with another bully.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. And then because I also think that the domestic violence is also a mind game also. So when you're doing a mind game on someone, there's no marks.
There's no marks.
It's
called verbal abuse.
There's no marks.
There's no marks.
So because the person could definitely be scared of you and you're still doing what you asked them to do because they're just afraid of you and you don't put any marks or no hitting or nothing.
Most victims are. That's why you can't tell victims to leave the relationship, because 9 times out of 10 the victim will be killed in that relationship, because you can't just outright leave me. You see what I mean? You have to devise a plan. You have to do everything in secret and have everything remain the same to that particular abuser. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't just say leave him or her.
Right.
Okay, because I've already been choking you out if I wanted to. I've already probably put the knife through to your throat if I wanted to. I might have held the gun to your head a couple times if I wanted to. And so for you to tell me to just leave and I take your advice, it's going to end up being bad.
I don't even know what Stuart's question was, or whoever just asked that question. So I'm going to piggyback on, I don't like pigs, but I'm going to piggyback on what Steve was saying. And I was in domestic violence since, I said the last 12 years. And I had a domestic violence walk every year down in the north. Katie was part of that. She came to a couple of them. And the reason I did that, the first case I saw was when the man stabbed his girlfriend 84 times over on Jasper Place. He left behind 2 children, a little boy and a little girl. They should be grown by now. He did the walkathon, raised money, gave it to the family. The last one we did was the one on Minnesota Avenue when the man shot the girl, shot the baby in the face. He tried to kill all of them, but the baby didn't die. We had the walkathon for her. And looking at this family, usually it's a child on that. Look at these families. I don't know if the children will grow up and do the same thing or not. Because sometimes you do what you learn, you do what you see. I don't know if they're bullied in school, if they made it or what. But we had, every year we had a different family that we would raise money for because the child was left behind. It's just a sad state of affairs. As far as the bullying, most domestic violence cases start out as bullying. Because the man or the woman, whoever's doing the bullying, they're going to see how far they can go. Right. See how weak the person is. Yeah. Bitch, you come and do such and such. Oh, okay, I'll do it. Or, come on, you what? So, if they fight back like that, oftentimes in the beginning, the bully or the person who's the aggressor, he may kind of back down, he or she may back down and find somebody that's weak. So, sometimes it plays out that way. They move on, or they just keep on and on and on until they get the person where they want. But usually if a person's not going to be bullied, then they're not going to be bullied now. So hopefully we can have our children be raised as strong individuals, sure of themselves, confidence, so they won't be bullied.
So another other question, I'm going to go back to her real quick. You saying you were bullying a male. So I know that some men do not want to put out there, abused a man. So I know that some men don't want to put it out there that they're being abused. You know, so that makes it even harder for them to come out and make a report because they don't want to know, say, that this woman or his woman is abusing him. You know, because he's supposed to be a man. So did that make it easier for you to do what you had to do?
Well, one of the abuser's tactics is that we listen to what that victim needs. So if you're lacking in, support of your mom or support of your dad, that's a weakness. Right. So I can get in there and become your mother. I can become your father. I can become whatever you need. I understand. Okay. So if you feel like you down on your luck, I'm glad I met you. That type of. I'm looking. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna see how glad you be, right? And then I'll try you. I'll start trying you in certain ways. And verbal is going to be the #1 way that I'm going to try.
Talk to someone.
How I talk to you. And if you respond to me talking to you with verbal attacks or verbally abusing you, then I'm going to escalate my behavior. Right.
So if I don't say you don't be talking to me like that,
right?
Then you're like, okay, I can talk to this man how I want.
Maybe. It depends. Depends. If I got some time, I might challenge.
Right. I got you.
Right. But remember, this is what I want to let you know. One abuser has 5 victims at one time. One abuser, 5 victims at one time. So I got to get to those other victims. So I'm going to need you to get in line.
I got you.
And if not, then it's going to be a problem. I'm going to shut you up and then move on to the next. Because I got 4 other victims that I got to deal with.
So if I'm not going to fall in line with you, then you're just going to let me go and move somewhere else?
I might give you a little bit of time. You probably going to call me though. I mean, you might not call. We talking about my victims here. My victims will call.
I got you.
You just give them a little time to feel made.
I hear you. The mission, the so-called
make it feel like it's their fault.
I got you.
You the one who started the fight. You wanted me to come over last night, but you started the fight, so I'm going to give you a little bit of time. Give him a little bit of time. Because remember, I got to go to the other victim house anyway.
Take it out.
To take it out. Make sure things are flowing
the way you want.
The way I need them to flow. One abuser, 5 victims at one time. First victim will be you.
It's funny. I've taken all these classes in the police department, and that is the first time I've heard that. That's the first time. I've taken all these classes. Now, when I was coming, I was training police officers, so I took all these classes. They sent me all these certifications, talking about how to deal with domestic violence, what to look for in domestic violence, and all those type of things. But this is the first time I heard that one abuser has 5 victims at one time.
Let me say something about that. One of the things that is very important is to let everyone know that there is help out there. There is programs and workshops and
Not for the abuser?
well, there are workshops because you have a platform.
I have one.
You have a platform.
But they didn't give me a platform when I got locked up.
But one of the things that is, like I said, that's important is that one of the things we can't say this was not out there. That's important.
It was not out there because they would have assigned them to me. They did not give me anything.
But we're talking about right now. You have a program, and MAMASAFE Haven have a self-love workshop, and we're over in Potomac Gardens, and we work with victims and abusers. Because one of the things we have to understand is that just because someone is not saying that they're an abuser doesn't mean that they're not an abuser. Because a lot of females do things not even knowing. Because I can sit here and say that I'm not an abuser, but somebody else might say something different. So we have to know, like, when you identifying, who are the identifiers that say who is who, right? Because again, we have to first understand that there are programs and silos. There are people doing things in their own home that's not being televised. And a lot of times what is important but what is important is marketing, right? Putting it out there. Because a lot of times, that was my cry, is that the positive people are using platforms to let people know what they are doing. Letting people know what's going on out there. So MAMASAFE Haven, we are a non-profit organization. We encourage self-love, higher education, and self-employment. We are housed at the Alliance of Concerned Men. We're at 3227 Du Bois Place Southeast. We have also a teen dating violence workshop. So, yeah, because I have to get ready to go. We have, want to thank Moms Demand Action. They're doing a tree planting ceremony for Yango today. And they're also, as it relates to gun violence, my nephews were gunned down. So they're also doing a tree planting ceremony for my nephews that I got to get over to. But I did want to let them know about resources before I go. Because we are housed, and we have Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 10 to 5. We're at Potomac Gardens, and you all are all welcome to come over to that space. It's not just for those residents. But one of the things that is important is for us to do the research and see what's out there, because there are programs out there, and I think that they are underutilized here in our community. But if we look, we shall find. If you knock it, it will be answered. So thank you so much, CJ, for having me. Hate to run out so soon, but I got to get out of here.
Facebook come up.
But to God be the glory, and we just thank you for all the hard work that you're doing. And I want to say one more thing about my book entitled He Kept Me. So my book is entitled He Kept Me, and He is God. And it was definitely me finding, it was in that lonely place when, you know, losing my sisters. I lost 3 sisters before the age of 40, my mom to the crack epidemic. So it was when I was by myself. So when people are leaving you and things are happening, that is the time for you to get within yourself and find out what is God saying to you in this place. It's not a time to retreat, it's a time to push forward. And there's going to be obstacles, but guess what? You are bigger than those obstacles that's before you. We have to stand on our pain, and that's what happened when I was able to purge and write all of the filth that happened to me. I grew up on this book, and people ask me how was I able to do it, and God told me it wasn't my story, it was His story. It was the story of so many people that can relate to what it goes through. But you know, it's not about the knockdown, it's about the get up. So regardless of what, always look up. You know, I heard this saying, it was Les Brown, but the first person I heard say it was Murray Burry over at the Rise Center. And he said, if you fall down, try to land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. Let your reasons get you up. So my book entitled He Kept Me is in honor of Murray Burry, my mom Murray Grace, Harriet Tubman, and all those who have been through stuff and say that they can't. You can do anything you put your mind to do, and with God who is in the side of you. So He Kept Me is on Amazon. Love you all.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming out and spending your time.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
know you have to leave. That's very important. Thank you. I just this part, like I said, all this training, that just really stung me about that part. I don't want to talk a little bit more about that. I definitely agree that the abuser needs to get some training, some type of training, some type of assistance, something, because you're right, we're getting this thing out there for the person who's been abused. And when I left, I learned there was more and more stuff out there for the person who's abused. So that's just one person getting out, but that abuser is still out there stalking people, looking for their next victim to put in that number 5. There's no doubt about that. Still, come on up real close, brother, so you can on the camera.
One of the things I wanted to do, I actually wanted Beverly to kind of answer this piece, because I know she works with young children. So we've learned that bullying can, and oftentimes does, lead to domestic violence. And so we got to figure out how we get in front of this whole concept of bullying, and where are the kind of seeds that give birth to the bully. So my question to you, and you may not know, and if you don't know, that's fine. I often tell young folk that I work with, man, the quickest way for us to get to where we need to be is we admit that we don't know something. But I'd like to ask our guests, understanding the cyclic effect of bullying leading to domestic violence, what might be, or what do you see as being kind of the seeds, the things that lead to the growth of a bully?
And I want to piggyback on it also, for a concerned parent, what should they look out for? Since you know about the bullying part, you know that your child may be a bully. So we can touch on that a little bit also. You know, yes, with the seed, but you know, I don't know that my son is going to school every day bullying somebody. You know what I'm saying? Because he comes home and he's nice, he's quiet, he got his friends, but I don't really know that that child could be a bully. And you know some things like that to be looking out for, to let people know also. Which one of those?
On the bullying, it is kind of, even domestic violence, the abuser, it's hard for the average person to see this, but to me within the home, it starts with the bullying. If it's more than one child in the household, if the child is a bully in school, more than likely a bully at home. Especially if it's the older child. They're a bully at home. And the parents need to recognize that everything this child does is not funny, it's not cute, and you need to leave your little brother or sister alone. Then they go to school, it grows, and then find a weak person, because the same little boys that bullying my neighbor, come to find out they're bullying this other boy so badly that the boy joined them out of fear, not because he liked them, but my neighbor did not. And now the police involved, now they're saying, oh, we friends now, we're not going to bother him no more. And the boy is so bad, they're throwing snowballs at the little boy. The teacher talked to the parents. Oh, let me go back. When they threw the snowballs at the little boy, the grandmother said, stop throwing those snowballs. They threw the snowballs at her. In the doorway, just bam, bam, bam. So they did have a meeting. They said it wasn't going to bother the child again. That's when the next week or so they came and broke the door. So now that the police involved, I think they have calmed down. So the parents need to recognize that if the child is doing something in the household, not listening, irritating their little brother or little sister all the time, it's a problem. It's a problem. So I think that's one of the things, and the parents need to talk to them, maybe even put the teacher on notice, even though it's not the teacher's responsibility to maintain the child. So put the teacher on notice, put the police in the school on notice. You know, please watch my son at home, he's acting such and such a way. But then again, most parents are in denial. They have the ostrich syndrome. My child is an angel. I don't know why they killed him. He only hit 99 people. He's such a good boy. He played hooky from school, but he's still a good child. So parents need to realize that sometimes their child is not good. And they need to teach them, show them, take them to a doctor, but most black people don't like to do that either. But sometimes they just need help before it grows out of hand and they become an abuser, and then it ends up really, really bad, and they have a life sentence or something of that nature.
She covered it all. Victim turn abuser all the time. victim turn abuser all the time. That's the part we're not getting. If you got children sitting at your dinner table watching you with verbal attacks, and this is how you guys communicate, you telling your child, little motherfucker, come here. I mean, what you think he gonna go tell the next, you know, peer, or, you know, keep the cycle going? It's starting at home at the dinner table. Because research says that the strongest risk factor of learning is at home. We learn it right with you guys doing what you're doing, and we sitting there looking at you, and you know, and we watching you. We gonna repeat it, and then we gonna start acting it out.
That's right.
But then there is some who's quiet, who doesn't say anything. Okay, but they could be in their room cutting. You know, they could be thinking of contemplating suicide. They could be crying at night. You got some children that's growing up in these households with domestic violence, bullying is going on, verbal abuse is going on, and that child got to cry to itself to sleep every night. And then the teacher say, oh, your child just sleep in school. I know they do. How the child, you been up all night, domestic violence 24/7. Don't nobody go to sleep over that. The children don't get the proper rest that they need off of that. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of this stuff is being soaked up in their mind and their brain. Come on now, going to sleep, middle of the day, wake up, wake back up, go to sleep. They soaking it up and they're learning. It's easy. I have a 5-year-old who cusses like herself. You know, it's easy for them to pick that up.
It is.
All right, we're about to take a break. I'd like to thank y'all for your opinion coming out. And when we come back, we're going to fill Panel 1 from ACC. We have a couple of guests who will be coming with. Right now, we're going to take a break. Thank everyone.
Thank you, guests. So much.
Up and stay. If you want to, you got to go. As always.
At this time, we want to make a few announcements. Unique Harris missing October 10th from the 2400 block of Hartford Street Southeast. She's gone but not forgotten. Together we can solve this problem. You can text info to 50411 or contact MPD at 202-727-9099. Also, July 11, 2019 is Release Your Rudd Awareness Day. For more information, BC's Nixon Boss, contact Henderson Long, 202-491-2327. The theme for Award 8 for 2019 is Love Never Fails. Again, our theme for our community is Love Never Fails. Also, the Good Food Market is coming to Ward 8. Seniors over 60 will receive a 10% off all produce, and also food insecure households. For more information, you may contact this is the website, www.goodfoodmarkets.com. Also, there will be teen night at the Community of Hope for ages 13-19. It will be Thursday night, June 13th, from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. There will be giveaways, also free food. For information, you may call 202-889-1070 at extension 517. Also, we want to mention our Safe Summer Series event for 2019 at the Bellevue Summer Indoor-Outdoor events. That's our Bellevue community, Southwest, DC. For more information, you may contact Mark Williams at 202-378-8799. Also, Martha's Table will be celebrating Fathers to the Front. A Father's Day celebration with free food, live entertainment, and giveaways and more. Friday, June 14th, 2019, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Commons, 2375 Evans Road, Southeast. They're celebrating all fathers, grandfathers, mentors, and caregivers. And now, let's get back to Let's Talk with CJ.
What's it? You want the second guest? You want to you got it? For the next guest, you want to see? You got it? All right, we'll start.
All right, we're back for the second half of Let's Talk with CJ. We have with us Mr. Phil Pannell, who's been honored by the mayor recently. That's what you'll want us to keep saying that.
Oh, we're going to bring it up, Phil. It's going to go all through this. All through it. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah. We also have the parents of CHARNICE MILTON, and I wanted to say a few things earlier about that, but we'll leave that. We'll get into that conversation when we get into Ken and his lovely wife. And so we're back to Let's Talk with CJ. CJ,
how you doing?
What you got for him, CJ?
Hey, how you been, first of all, brother?
Man, I'm good. I'm glad to be here, able to do this again.
Thank y'all for coming out. Thank y'all for coming and talking to us. Hey, Phil, we got to talk about it, man. We got to start with you. June 1st, Phil Pannell Day, ACC. How long has ACC been around?
Since 1983. Since 1983, so this is about 36 years.
36 years. And your main focus?
Well, it seems to be almost everything from A to Z. As we say, the Anacostia Coordinating Council is a volunteer membership consortium of individuals and organizations that are involved with the revitalization of Anacostia and its neighborhood communities. We focus on information gathering, sharing, networking, community advocacy, and so any issue that comes up in the community, somehow ACC can be in the mix, whether it's from A to Z, A is only.
And I know you're involved with Let's Talk with CJ also.
Right. As a matter of fact, we're your fiduciary agent.
Exactly.
With the grant from the Mayor's Office on African American Affairs.
And I appreciate it.
We appreciate you.
No, we appreciate you also.
Yeah. And the Mayor's proclamation, I mean, I'm not going to belittle it or anything like that. I mean, it's a nice piece of paper.
Be mindful
but I mean, the thing about it is that if that was my day, would I be able to decree that everyone's parking tickets are forgiven? Or that everyone is invited to IHOP for steak dinners, compliments of the mayor. This is my day.
So can you suggest that? I mean, when you get a day from the mayor, right, you should be able to do something on your day that we can't do on other days. What do you think? Yeah. So we should suggest that, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't help to get keys to the city when it unlocks an empty room.
I hear that. Oh my gosh, all right. All right, we're touching
CJ and Stuart, thank you so much for allowing Francine and myself to come on your program and talk today. Our kudos also to Phil. Congratulations on your achievement. It's well deserved and slightly delayed, but certainly richly deserved. We're the parents of CHARNICE MILTON, the reporter who was killed at Good Hope and Neela Road about 4 years, almost a month ago. She was coming home from covering a story on Capitol Hill, and she was getting off the bus and used as a human shield on that particular day. We have grieved immensely over this particular time period, and we still have hope, as this is an unresolved homicide, that those who have committed the offense would come forward. I want to thank Phil Pannell for him coming alongside us early on. It was his agreement that we work with him starting open heart closed case with the ACC. And we have drawn attention internationally, nationally, locally in the region regarding unresolved homicides, missing persons, child abuse cases, and teen suicides. And we'll continue to work on that. I wanted my wife to be here because a lot of people say, Ken, we always hear you, and which is, unusual in a father being forward on these particular cases. And they don't often hear from my wife, and I wanted to give her the opportunity to talk about her beloved daughter, our beloved daughter, what a wonderful woman she was.
CHARNICE was a wonderful young lady.
I grew up in the church. Very hard-working young lady. When you all talked about bullying, she was bullied most of her life because she had a difficult time speaking. She actually did not start talking until she was almost 4 or 5 because she had a speech problem. She had some delays. But believe it or not, she graduated with honors from high school, went on and received a full scholarship in communications from Ball State in Muncie, Indiana. And she graduated from Ball State and then went on to become a journalist, majoring in communications at Syracuse. So look at God. Because even those people who bullied her, surprisingly or not, some of them were at her funeral. It's too late to say you're sorry when someone's gone. But she was bullied, and she learned when she was little how to forgive even those who bullied her. So it makes it really hard when you think about how she died and how someone used her, in a way bullying, to save their own life. But she knew, and I know that even at that time, she probably prayed for those who were hurting her, because that's how she was raised and that's what she knew. But yes, she was bullied all the way through, from elementary school, middle school, and high school. But when we went to her colleges, predominantly white colleges, whatever, she was known by the professors. They knew her by name. They all knew her because of the work that she did. The fact that she never gave up. Perseverance is what we taught and what we have to teach our kids in this area right now, to persevere, even in the toughest of times, to persevere.
Kid mentioned that CHARNICE's murder is among the unsolved homicides. Since home rule, we have not had just scores and hundreds of unsolved homicides. There are thousands. And one of the contributing factors to the unsolved homicides is the unwillingness or the uneasiness that people have coming forward. And some of it is understood because people are afraid. But also, the police will issue the flyers talking about the $25,000 rewards. You can call in anonymously. There is no one whose IQ is higher than that of the room's temperature that believes in this day of, in terms of information technology, that you can do anything anonymously. Right. So you don't expect people who are going to call many times because they think the numbers can be traced. They're certainly not going to show up at the at the police precincts. They're not going to invite the police to their homes. Right. So we have to develop a way in which this information can be gotten to them. And I'm working now on a proposal, and I've gotten some advice from Attorney General Carl Racine, and I hope to roll this out in the next couple of weeks, where people will be encouraged to simply write information on a piece of paper, and you can drop it in any mailbox in the city. Now, we all know that around Christmas time, there are kids who will actually write notes to Santa. Right. And just put them in the mailboxes. And what the U.S. Postal Service does is to actually have volunteers who read those letters, and they respond to it is addressed. So a person would be able to just simply put that in a mailbox. And the reason I consulted with the Attorney General, because I was told that what I was advocating may be a federal crime, but we can talk about putting things in a mailbox. But he says that should not be the case. Now, one of the downsides of that is that if that type of project really gets rolling, you might actually see the vandalism of mailboxes. Now, if that's the case, then that will invite the feds to get involved. But there's also an overarching situation regarding the reluctance and the hesitancy of people to come forth. And that is that we have this no snitching code in the community, which is really, really confused. It's a code that comes out of confusion, because the term snitching is really street vernacular that comes from the people involved in the criminal justice system who are willing to give information or drop dimes on other individuals in order to get lighter time or shorter time. That's not the same thing as being a good citizen. And when you have that type of code in the community, and it's accepted, then that will embolden people to actually shoot people down in broad daylight because they feel that no one is going to snitch. Now, how many of you remember the movie Denzel Washington, American Gangster? Remember, he is sitting in a restaurant. I guess it wasn't an IHOP. You know, I can remember. But he literally gets up, he's talking to his nephew, gets up from the table, goes out in broad daylight, people standing around and everything, and he kills the guy and goes right back to his lunch and sit down because he knows that no one was going to snitch.
And that part of the story is probably true.
Yeah, that's supposed to be reacting of true situation that took place during that era in time. It's a shame that we almost think that we're in that time now with some of the stuff that's going on. And I think that's an interesting idea about dropping the notes in the mail. I think that's interesting. I don't know how we'd have to talk more about that. Maybe we can on the show today or later. I wanted to turn to McCLENTON because I wanted to ask the same question because Phil does some different type of work, but you are engaged in work that I think is also aligned with our first group of guests. And so having lifted up the open heart closed case piece, I wanted to ask you first what might be some of the challenges. You know, I said failures early and I still wrote failures now, but oftentimes they're not failures, they're just challenges until we figure out how to get around them. But what are some of the failures and successes with the work that you've done through Open Heart Closed Case? And the other thing is, I wanted to ask both of you to respond to or give us a sense and a feel of what you think about, because I know there has been an effort, and I think that we can use situations like your daughter. Unfortunately, my heart goes out to you, still goes out to you, but we can use situations like your daughter to raise the awareness of people in the community as to how we have to do something to prevent things happening like these blatant daylight shootings and dragging people and all of that. But I wanted to ask that part of the question is about what do you think about busboys and poets along with Kimon Freeman, and we should be shouting him out for helping us with Let's Talk with CJ. But what are your thoughts around them immortalizing your daughter with the bookstore? And if you don't like it, right, this is the time to say, I really don't appreciate y'all doing that. And this is the time to do that so we be real.
I am so thankful to the whole idea, to everything dealing with the bookstore and with Busboys and Poets. Busboys and Poets was one of Shanice's favorite places. So there was no way I could say, oh no, because Shanice loved Busboys and Poets. It was her place. And anyone who knew Shanice knew she loved books. It was all that she believed in. In her mind, I believe she traveled everywhere because she read books about everything. And she had no fear in what types of books to read. And she grew because she read many different types of books, which means even with a speech delay, she could sit down and hold a conversation with anyone about anything because of the books. The young lady, I can't remember the name, Stephanie, the artist who created the plaque, a statue, which is a book with, it actually has Shanice's signature on it. But the thing that touched my heart was that it was made out of bullet casings that she melted down. That touched my heart. The fact that they were bullet casings. This is what we call getting beauty from ashes. From taking the worst of something and making the best out of it. And that touched my heart. So the whole idea was beautiful.
I just want to say that what Phil Pannell does and what we do is really no different. And in fact, it was Phil and I who were working together. Phil had been working before me in terms of putting together the replicas of all of those individuals who were killed east of the river. And I don't know if any of you all have had the opportunity of seeing that, but you know, most people west of the river or on Capitol Hill are awed when you see that it's not just 1 3 trifold, it's not 2, it's not 3, it is a room filled this long and wide with the number of individuals who have been shot and killed east of the river. And in this year, we're talking just June the 9th, okay, 66 people have been killed in the District of Columbia. 45 of those cases have gone unsolved. I have been assured over the past 4 years, and since a lot of people come to this program, they talk about what the government can do, what the government can do. I have been assured that the government is doing everything it can do. I think we ask too much of the government often on individual matters. But in terms of public safety, you cannot tell me that you have over 3,000 unresolved homicides since 1960 and you're satisfactorily dealing with them with only 75 detectives. You cannot tell me that you are diligently serving the community when you are blatantly telling victims' families, don't bring detectives, your private detectives in, we will solve it, and 4 years later the case is unsolved. Do not tell me that you are diligently dealing with these public safety matters and that you're spending millions of dollars in terms of tax increment financing to bring institutions over here that don't want to be here because they fear for the lives of their employees. Don't tell me that you're diligently working on these particular things when you sit in my home as the mayor of the District of Columbia and you tell me that the police department is doing everything that it can do on the night that her case becomes a cold case. You want to talk about a success in death? Shanice was a success in death because she was the last death ever in the District of Columbia to be called a cold case. I got on my television, my radio and television show that night, and I blasted the mayor, I blasted the District of Columbia, because there is no doggone way 5 days out from a killing that a case goes cold. We have a problem in this particular city, and I just want you all to know that I am not the most loved person or cherished person because of my opinions. Okay?
I love you, bro.
Thank you. But you know what? On the night that my daughter is killed, do I care about you, what you think of my opinions? No, I care about my family. I care about my children. I am told that we should care more for the criminal's family and the criminal than we are to care for the victim and the victim's family. This is what I'm told. Now, when I say these things in public, I'm vilified because I've said to them, how dare you talk this way? You don't understand the plight. No, you don't understand the plight when I go into a courtroom and on one side of the court, it is filled with pastors and lovers of families and babies' mamas and all these particular things over on that side for the criminal, and over on this side for the victim and their family, you got 1 or 2 people, and one of them got lost coming into the courtroom because they're in the wrong courtroom. They are gone without the support and the mechanism. So what Phil does is bring awareness. What I do is bring the support. There is a left and a right hand here. And I remember our conversations early on, and Phil and I, we don't always agree on things, but we agree on this one thing. If you go to bed tonight and you don't feel safe because my daughter's killers are still out there, guess what? It don't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, none of us feel safe. And until there is safety, there will not be economic development east of the river. I don't care what you tell me.
I agree, and you're telling me that 5 days, and that's it for a person to be investigated on a case?
On the case. But she was the last because we came out and we protested that night forward. And in fact, the other success in all of this is that it was Shanice's death and Relisha Rudd that led to us having the first in 10 years, the first time that you bring the city council together to actually hold a hearing on the justice and that's being done in this particular community. Ask us how many hearings have they had since that first one. You will probably count only one more. We have a problem in the District of Columbia. One, you want me to sugarcoat and come on the air and plead and beg for a man to come forward and confess his sin. And at the same time, be silent, don't say nothing, we'll figure this out. We have sent a dual message that leaves people in great terror here east of the river. You talked about the abuse cases early on, and the young lady sitting here said, you know, my purpose is to terrorize and to abuse. Well, the criminal's purpose is to terrorize and abuse who kills people. And the terror comes when they don't get arrested. So when the government doesn't do its job in terms of providing the financial support, giving the detectives the support mechanisms that they need, working with the FBI on most of these particular cases and other institutions like that, then you tell the criminal, you are in charge, and they are your prey. And you know what? When we're running for office, we'll come to you and we'll tell you that we're doing everything we can. Just vote for me one more time. And the answer is always simple. It's not being done. It's not being solved. 68% of the people that have been killed in the District of Columbia this year, their cases have gone unsolved. They're walking like my wife. We just drove past Good Hope and Naylor Road where our daughter was killed. They walk through their homes and they realize, like we do, that that light's not going to be turned off because no one's coming home tonight.
Another reason that we do not see the collective outrage about the carnage that goes on in our neighborhood is that there are some people, I'm not going to say most, but some people who feel that the victims of the homicides are basically getting what they deserve, or their murder is like an occupational hazard. You know, like they were in the game. You talk about the exhibit and display, which is now housed in Stewart's home. Ironically, you know, I can't read but when I remember displaying it across the board, and it was really interesting to hear the conversations. People would come up, and some folks would actually say, particularly some younger folks, they would say things like, "Oh, I know who killed him," and everything like that, and then they will talk about, "Oh, well, you know, like, hey, you know, like he was dealing drugs anyway, you know, like he used to, you know, like stick up people anyway," and that is the dirty little secret in our community, that people do not get outraged about this, only in situations where people feel that the victim didn't deserve it. And if it's a little kid, either child, you know, I could get, you know, like, or a senior citizen sitting on the porch, you know, then people's heart goes out for them. But otherwise, in our community, people are just numb to this. You know, like, and just 2 weeks ago, someone was shot dead, basically in front of where I work, on Shannon Place, broad daylight.
But isn't every person somebody's child?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't understand that part of it. So everyone is someone's child. So we should always be outraged. Always be outraged.
I don't think so.
You don't think every person is someone's child?
No, I don't think people get outraged.
No. I'm saying, yes, I agree. They should be.
No, but don't take it out of context. We're on the same side.
Okay. Go ahead.
What I'm saying to you is, if we respected human life,
I got you. I understand. I'm with you there.
We with each other on this one. If we respected human life, it wouldn't be a stitching.
No, it wouldn't.
It would be, we are doing justice.
Right.
We are bringing forth someone who's done this. But we don't respect the baby in the womb. We don't expect to respect Shanice in the tomb.
I understand.
So when we get to the point in our particular culture where we decide that life is worth it, that you didn't inordinately get picked a lottery stamp and came into this world, that you were purposed to live in this world, that every child is to be respected and to be adored and to be loved. No, and quite frankly, we deal with a burden every single night. No parent should go to sleep knowing that they outlived their child.
I agree 100%.
That is a completely unsettling experience.
I want you to back up a little bit. You said it's been a change. It's not called a cold case anymore. So can you explain how it's been changed? Because I didn't even know that it's not being called a cold case. And if people are there listening, so they can explain exactly how you have changed it and what it has changed to now. 2 days after we began our public protest of the mayor and the city police force regarding this particular matter, before that time period, if someone was killed, they had 5 days to try to find who the killer was. If we couldn't find, and a lot of people have this idea that CSI, you know, in 30 minutes or less, you can get your pizza and get the killer. It don't work that way. So in 5 days, if you don't solve the case, because we have such a backlog, it gets placed on a cold file, and then they distribute it to another group of detectives that will get around to it. Okay, we don't have room for get around to when 5 days out your mayor is sitting in your living room telling you the city's going to do everything that we can do to solve the case. After that particular protest, after Shanice's death, every homicide in District of Columbia went from being either a cold case to there being an unresolved homicide, meaning that the case remains open eternally, and that the detectives are continually working on it. Here's the problem. When you run out of leads, when you run out of people dropping things in the mailbox, when you run out of people saying anonymously, you know, I know who did it. Because Francine and I get rumors all the time on the street. Don't think that because we live in our ivory tower that we don't live on the street too, because I've heard that in this neighborhood as well. All right? So the bottom line is, we get the same things that you hear about the case. It doesn't always come from C Street. It doesn't always come from 7D. But that doesn't always get to C Street or 7D as well. So the bottom line is, when you have an unresolved homicide, it's important that individuals come forward with the information that they have and give it. Any little bit of information helps put that puzzle together for the solving of the case. Are we only in it for our daughter? No. No. You got 45 families this year that have gone to bed knowing that their case is not solved and unlikely to be solved in the District of Columbia. You have 75 detectives working on 3,000 cases. You don't have one chef in your office working on, in your restaurant, working on everybody's meal. It's impossible. So you're asking 75 detectives to solve 66 murders as of June. And then on top of that, solve the other 3,000 cases that they didn't solve before that. So come on, we're being completely disingenuous when we say that we love our children enough. Well, love them not only in life, but love them in death. Get the solutions that are necessary so that my wife can go to sleep at night and not worry about she's on her way to school and somebody might drop a dime on her because she might have heard something, or I might have heard something. Yes, we're being terrorized, ladies and gentlemen, in this particular neighborhood, in this particular community. And until we all confess that and wake up and say that, then you're just okay with the okie doke. You're okay with 45 unsolved murders, and it will always be this way.
Well, I got one more thing to say about the always. Y'all complain about gentrification being racial. Okay, were all the murders in Ward 7 and 8 done by who?
People look like you and I.
So wait a minute, we're the ratioette. The bottom line is, if you kill each other out, and if you poor people got to be moved out, what's left behind? But other people who are using HPAP, who make $100,000 a year because they're considered poor under the federal government, and getting all the money they need to redevelop the area and move you out. And then you'll sit back 20 years from now and say, man, I don't know how that happened. It started with you starting to kill each other. And when you killed each other, you didn't do everything that was necessary to solve the cases and turn each other in and get justice. And after that, you got replaced. It's not about the color of your skin, it's about the money and the safety that you got in your neighborhood.
I agree. So I just want to recap. So now it goes from 5 days to eternity, or as long?
Eternity.
Okay.
Can I say something about the cold case?
Sure.
With the display, what was decided is that we would not remove the picture of one of the victims once the case is closed, that we would put closed over that to let folks know that there is hope, that there will be movement in that. But what I was told by the homicide division, and if anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe there's some recent information, when I asked the homicide division, how do you define a cold case? You know, like I was told, as soon as there is an arrest in the case, not a conviction. You know, there's all, and to me that's to me that's problematic.
So it's closed once it's closed.
Yeah, that's what homicide said, that it defines a closed case is if there is an arrest. Not a conviction, but an arrest, and to me that's problematic.
So hold on, wait.
You saying to me that if they arrest CJ for doing something, they're going to close the case, even though CJ didn't do it. CJ ain't been in trial, he ain't win, lose, or draw. They're going to close the case.
And then I win.
And then he win and the case still closed?
Yes.
So they're not going to, I don't understand that at all. And this cold case situation, right? So after 5 days, we don't have no leads. We don't have no suspect. Okay, this case is cold. We don't, and it go on the shelf.
Yeah, but you're dealing with a city where there were 166 murders last year. The year before that, there were 150 murders. On average, 60 to 70% of those particular cases go unsolved. You're asking 75 people, and God bless Chanel Howard and Captain Haith and what they do as detectives, but you're asking men and women to put on capes every single morning to solve cases when you got neighbors who know who did it, who won't come forward and say a word. So you're asking too much of these particular detectives. What you need to do is actually double or triple the number of cold case detectives that you have. Okay, if you're going to use those red light cameras and bring in $200 million a year, especially in Southeast DC, where the lowest income people live, and you got enough speed cam. Maybe Mama's probably a little late for work. That's why she got that ticket. But the bottom line is you got $200 million coming in annually from all these cameras, but you can't afford to double the number of detectives when you have an outpouring of cases that go unresolved. That's not any more incompetence, that's malfeasance.
That was my exact question right there. I was trying to get to that question and say, so I hear all this mess about we gonna hire more police. 400 something, we just allocated some money to hire that many more police. Why do we ever hear them talking about hiring more detectives?
So detectives are...
Well, you'll explain that as a former police. But one thing I want to say is that many times when there are people in this community and other communities that talk about hiring more police, because after all, a detective is a specialized police officer, there will be some visceral, instantaneous reaction, if not opposition to it. You know, we'll immediately say, oh, we don't need to put more police on the street. What we need is more midnight basketball programs. And I'm not trying to belittle, you know, I can in any way belittle that, but we have now gotten into this situation where we have recognized community activists and leaders who will actually oppose hiring more police. And you know, I support the Black Lives Matter movement, but all Black lives should matter, even the unsolved homicides. And we should be able to have candid, frank, honest conversations about police brutality without brutalizing the police, you know, like everything, and automatically making the police the enemy. And the next thing you know, if you're advocating for more police, then all of a sudden you're not really in the spirit of Black Lives Matter.
I agree with that. I agree with you. And more police will help. And how detectives are done, it's they hire police and then they give tests to become the detectives. So that's really how it's done. So they should give more tests and up the number of the people they want to promote to detectives. And then that's how it becomes. It's not like you hire a person off the street and he becomes a detective. The detective becomes with experience of the knowledge that he has from the streets and his training he has received.
I agree with you in terms of the processes that's in place, but that's a failed processes. And the fact that if I gotta wait for you to be tested, and that there are other detectives who are out there, and in Shanice's case, we have 45 detectives from the CIA, from the FBI, from the Internal Revenue Service, all who came forward a month after her death and said, we're willing right now to come to DC and solve that case. And I was told by the police department, no, we won't do that. We'll handle the particular case. So if you got all these individuals who have retired with all those particular skill sets, you have a population of detectives that can be added. And I believe, and we've been working with Open Heart Closed Case, that we should find a way to privatize some of those particular forces to bring detectives out from their retirement into closing these cases. And not just the wealthy cases where you have very wealthy people west of the river who are able to get their own private detective. But God knows there's some mamas who live in Southeast Washington, D.C., Northeast D.C., who would love to get a CIA or a FBI detective or an inspector general or someone who could come in and do the casework necessary to close stuff.
May I follow that up to maybe take your privatization recommendation a step further? I remember a couple of years ago, I was at a meeting of some police officers, and I presented a recommendation that immediately caused people to think that they needed to form a search posse to find my lost mine. And that was, that was, why can't we hire ex-offenders or returning citizens as part of some detective force in order to work on these unsolved homicides? Many times, those are people who know things that some of the other police don't. But we have this whole idea in terms of returning citizens that they have to be restricted in certain areas. In my mind, if you can hire returning citizens to interrupt violence, then why can't you hire them to investigate, of the results of violence in terms of the unsolved homicides? I think we are having a real untapped reservoir of people who could really bring some very well informed historical and personal perspective to doing the investigations of unsolved homicides.
I want to say real candidly, right, that I'm really, really afraid of this idea of the posse, right? this privatization thing, it bothers me. I understand. I was thinking as you were saying it and unrolling it, right, that sounds like he's talking about these violence interrupters and everything, and I commend the guys and the ladies who are doing that type of work and everything. But when Ken, and hopefully I can call you Ken, you may like Kenneth better. I don't know if you, because I know some people get on, you know, I can't call Philip Phil, so but this idea of the government saying that you can't go out and employ somebody to investigate the murder of your child. I need some clarity on what you the closest thing to a government official. I mean, I guess being the Democratic State Committee man, I am too, but I don't think I have it. Why would the government be opposed to people trying to get help when they can't get help from the government to solve a homicide?
You gotta remember, it's the police department too. The police department have to show that they can do their job.
Yeah.
So if someone goes out and hires someone, they might say they're interfering with their investigation, number one. And if they close it before they did, then that thing is, well, I didn't get a chance to. So the police department cannot be made to look bad. Now, would I listen to that part? If it, you know, if that's what the person, especially when they're saying now that it's closed and all this other type of stuff, then you should be able to go do whatever you had to do.
See, but that's the problem of it being now eternally open.
Right.
Because now that puts a barrier to individuals getting the outside help that they need. And so when we talk about, because a lot of people have this idea when we say privatization that we're going to get some horses and we're going to string people up. You know, we'll solve it. Don't worry about it, Popo. You all right. We got the 5-0. We'll handle it ourselves. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who are able to come in and work side by side to get the information. To have an individual, an ex-offender, who's able to come in and give insights to a detective. Wait a minute, you were doing that to him when he was in prison, and you called it trying to light fare his time. Now that he's out and can help you, oh no, we can't use your information. That's a bunch of bull. Wherever we can get the information that we need to solve a case, identity number one should be solve the case. Why? As long as there is a criminal or a killer on your streets, your Amazon ain't moving over here. Whoever, Google, whatever you want come up, they ain't coming. When you have a place where they feel safe and they can put up their little bistro and drink their tea in safety and not have to worry about someone jumping out in the middle of the day from a restaurant, pow pow, and going back in and finish their McDonald's or whatever, then you will have the economic development that you need. It won't, I keep hearing people, the government got to do this, the government. No, our problem is we've been talking for about 45 minutes now and we ain't mentioned once the faith community. Where are the pastors?
I got to know that.
I mean, I had pastors who volunteered to do my baby's funeral, but they ain't volunteered to do nothing else after that. Where are the pastors? Where are the church folk? Where are those? You can march to make somebody get $15 an hour knowing that that's going to lead to them being unemployed eventually. But you can't get out here and turn folk over so that we can actually have a safer and better community. Where is the faith community?
I want to ask Phil to talk about it, but I want to add one thing before I give it to Philip, right? Because I know that he's kind of took this syringe and pumped it into Ward 7, and Ward 7 now has a faith leaders breakfast that is talking about doing some stuff, and they've been doing it here in Ward 8, coming together trying to figure out how to address some different stuff, right? But with the faith community, right, you know, when you go on Sunday, as I did this morning, and you check out the parking lot, right? When you check out the parking lot of, why am I asking people to look at the parking lot of the church? You gotta look at their tags. You gotta look at where they come from. Not where they come, where they come from on Sunday and where they going back to the rest of the week. That's the problem, I think, with a lot of the churches.
So you think that? Yeah. So looking at the tags, you're thinking they're not from the area. You're thinking the most.
figure.
Unless you live in DC with
Maryland or Virginia Tangs, you don't live in.
Well,
you don't sleep in.
Right. Actually, you gotta be careful with that because you see those same Maryland plates when they're dropping kids off in DC public schools. But I'm gonna tell you right now, PG ain't no safer than DC.
That is true.
But they have fewer homicides. They have fewer homicides, per capita. It's coincidental that, as a matter of fact, Stuart, Reverend Motley, and I were at a meeting yesterday where this very issue was being discussed, and that was the monthly meeting of the Ward 8 pastors and faith leaders, the breakfast meetings. You've been there. And that's another ACC project. One of the problems when you say, where are the pastors? Here in Ward 8, where we have, let's say, approximately 80 churches, most of the pastors of those churches are neither District of Columbia or Ward 8 residents, right? Also, many of those pastors have jobs other than their ministerial duties. Some of the pastors are almost totally committed and committed only to their congregations. Many, if not most of the churches in Ward 8 are only open on Sundays for services, Wednesday evening for Bible study, and the occasional funerals and weddings. Also, our churches are differently resourced, where we have some churches that have administrative offices and staffs. You can call during the weekday, get a live person on the phone. But you have other churches that are totally closed except when they're doing something. And as we say, resources. It's not just church anymore. In order for churches to survive during these times of declining attendees at their services, they can not just be houses of worship, they have to be churches incorporated. They have to hook up, with a charter school or have some type of development program, senior housing, in order to bring in more resources. But when you ask the question, where is the church? I'm a Christian. It may not be a good one, but that's what I call myself. But fundamentally, the church is not just simply concrete and mortar and stained glass. The church is the people of God. Get everything. In a way, we're having church right here in the IHOP right now. Do you want us to pass the plate? No, but the thing about it is that that is one of the problems that we have, and also we're having a discussion now that we yesterday at the meeting. Is how do we get the churches collectively involved, in order to be on a project. Peace vigils are wonderful, but once, once the T-shirts with the pictures of the murdered are tattered and worn, and once the teddy bears that were crucified on some light pole, is going, or the bottles that are, we know the sidewalk with more. Once that is all over, the dead seem to just wane in people's memories. We've got to somehow get these churches more involved. I would say it's very bad when you have churches right here in this community that have services that when people leave, they will walk out of the doors of churches in the midst of littered streets. The churches don't even clean up, around where they are. But I don't want to get myself in trouble. I just want to put something on the table. Should the death penalty be considered an option?
I said no.
I'm a co-host for the show. I'm gonna abstain.
I'm gonna say no because mistakes are made. A person has been killed, I agree. But mistakes are made, as we know. There's been people who've been put on death penalty who did not commit those crimes. And that's the reason why I'm saying no. So then now we're killing other people. And so that's the reason why. And I'm a police officer, and I believe that, that their kill should be caught. There's no doubt about it. I haven't lost anyone like that, so I know they might feel differently just from the outside looking in. There's so many people, African American males, that have been charged with things they didn't do. They have a big thing on Netflix about the 5. Right now the 5 guys that was in New York that raped a woman. So that was, and how that was handled. We still have officers out here that do, as we say, things are not right. They want to put something on someone, and if some man, young African American man, is accused of doing something, and then we found out later he didn't do it, but then we put him to death, then how would you feel about that?
I'm going to answer it this way. You have to ask me how I felt about the death penalty before my daughter's death, and ask me afterwards. I was the same way I was before her death as I am now. The death penalty is not a tool of vengeance, nor is it a tool by which you defray individuals from committing a crime. One of the great things that we miss by having the absence of the faith community and an absence of a dining room table is a father figure who sits there and says, if you do this, you shall be punished. You, as a police officer, and I, as an individual citizen, though we do not understand nor can recite every item in the DC code, we're ignorant. But ignorance is not an excuse of the prosecution of the law. Have there been mistakes made in terms of prosecution? Yes. But have there been mistakes made in the community where no prosecution was done at all? Yes. And what has happened with recidivism? Those individuals have gone out to become judge, jury, and executioner, killing not only my daughter, but possibly others. So why is it that on their side, where there is injustice, that their court of public opinion allows them the freedom to pick and choose who they wish to prey upon? Yet, when we have prosecuted fairly and justly individuals, that they should not reap the harvest of their work. I'm not saying that you use the death penalty as a crutch, nor as a baton, but it should always be there for the most heinous crimes and left to a jury of the peers to make a decision of its implication.
May I issue my disclaimer? I mean, I proposed the question just to be provocative. I don't want anyone to infer that, like, I am for the death penalty. Like, I'm totally opposed to the death penalty. First of all, I don't believe, disagree, and everything. I don't believe in state-sanctioned homicide. Everything. Also, I believe that the brain is one of the last frontiers. We never know that eventually science may actually be able to isolate a gene for violence. And we'll find out that these folks couldn't help themselves. Also, I don't like the way that the death penalty is administered in our society. It's done in secret. It's in the dead of night. Nobody sees it. Well, if those proponents of the death penalty that are mostly in your Republican Party, Ken, no. If you're going to propose the death penalty as as a deterrent, then it should be something that's public. You should be able to turn on cable TV that is running a series of people who are being put to death. Maybe there should be public hangings that the children could actually. There could be field trips, classes, and in order to do that. But but don't claim that the conservatives, the right wing, that the death penalty can be a deterrent when most of society just basically hears about it and they don't see it. Maybe if we have public hangings at at Shepherd Park, and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, that would be fine. And by the way, you'd be surprised. In Singapore, if you littered, they would cane you in public. Everything. So anyway,
I don't want us to get there right. Look, I'm gonna have my last words, and I'm gonna pass the mic this way.
last words, two announcements. I love for us to be liberated from violence. And because I love for us to be liberated from violence, I want us to pay close attention to the upcoming celebration of Juneteenth on the 15th, right? I think it's important that we start thinking about how do we liberate ourselves from the stuff that shackles us, and violence really shackles us. And the last thing I want us to say, when we're contemplating the measures that we use, I want us to understand that fatherhood piece, when Ken talked about fathers, I've got to doing the jig over here because Father's Day is coming up, and it's so important that we have fathers in our families. And I need us to understand and remember that broken families produce broken and hurt people. And as Ron Moulton normally says, hurt people hurt people. And so we got to figure out, how do we stop people from hurting each other? And you listening to the Stu on CJ. Let's Talk with CJ.
Let's Talk with CJ on We Act Radio. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. That doesn't matter. We should all come together, work together to try to find out the best way to get these things solved. Yeah, you're going to finish it?
Because I normally don't get this opportunity. Normally 90 people are against me. I never once said in my explanation that the death penalty is used as a deterrent. The death penalty is not a deterrent, nor is putting a camera up a deterrent to someone committing a crime. Men who wish to do evil shall do evil no matter what the risk. And they're willing to pay the price of your life to do so. I believe that your life is so valuable that individuals should pay the ultimate price for taking it without your permission.
We're going to finish up with some closing announcements. Once again, this is Let's Talk with CJ on We Act Radio, and we'll be closing out with some announcements. I'd like to thank everybody for coming.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for our guest panel today, Phil Pannell, MILTON. Thank you so much, CJ. That's a few more announcements for the community. CHARNICE MILTON, she was a homicide victim at the 2700 block of Good Hope Road, Southeast. Wednesday, May 27, 2015, at 9:40 p.m. Up to $25,000 reward is up for her capture. You may text the tip line 50411 or call Detective Chanel Howard 202-437-0451. Also, the mayor is sponsoring the program Come Soon, very soon, for Ward 7-8, Putting Families First in D.C. This will be connected to the schools and the trauma centers. So stay tuned for more information on this program from the mayor's office. Also, Stop the Murders, Every Life Matters, June 15, 2019, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Young Memorial Church, 2490 Alabama Avenue, Southeast. Sponsored by Darrell Harrison. You may contact him at 202-361-3466. Also, you may contact Gloria Island, the pastor of the Young Memorial Church. Also, DC Green's Advancing Food Justice, Food Education, Food Access, and Food Policy. For more information, go to www.dcgreen.org in partnership with the Green Scheme and the Friends of Oxen Run. Also, ACC 36th anniversary of Boy the Spirit of Washington will be held Saturday, October the 5th, 2019. Cruise along the Anacostia River, see old friends, make new friends. It's a time for sharing and a time for networking. For ticket information, please call ACC at 202-889-4900, or you may go on web, acc01@aol.com. Also, you're signing off our program. We'd like to thank Let's Talk with CJ for a wonderful program in the community. We are sponsored by the Anacostia Coordinating Council, WeActRadio.com, Venable Enterprises, and funded with the grant from the Mayor's Office of African Affairs. Thanks to the owners and the staff of the IHOP on Alabama Avenue Southeast. and Keeman Freeman and React Radio. Again, let's talk with CJ where truth speaks to power. Thank you.